Hey VC, I'm Marty in Oregon. This is my first video upload, and like a lot of other folks who have used the summer vinyl tag created by Dylan at Noble Records as an excuse to get involved, that's just what I'm doing. So this year I turned 50. I was born in 1974, and I've been collecting records that were released in that year for the last little while, and so my whole tag is going to be based on albums from 74, and we'll see how that goes. So number one is an album with summer in the title, or a song with that, and of course Beach Boys' Endless Summer came out in 1974, but I think that's a little obvious. It's a great album, but I went with Mike Aldridge's Blues and Bluegrass. This was released, of course, in 74, and it has George Gershwin's Summertime, a cover of that. He's a dobro player, and it is fantastic. I first heard about this album from Elliot Cruz, who did a great channel, by the way, did a video on albums released in 74. He did it about 3 years ago. At any rate, he introduced me to this, and I appreciate him for that. The second one on the list is A Heavy Pull. So what was an album that has maybe some value, or is obscure, or something that I got recently? And it was Gong's You. This is the I think it's the middle album in the Radio Gnome Invisible trilogy, and it's pretty good. It's pretty weird and wild, but I really enjoy it. And I actually traded this for an early pressing of Jimi Hendrix's Are You Experienced, and what was it, maybe a Blue Cheer album, something like that. At any rate, it's fantastic. The next one is a Whack-A-Mole. My albums are in the house, and I'm out in the studio right now, and when I whacked the mole, I came up with Carl Carlton's Everlasting Love. So this is kind of an interesting cover. I think it's pretty obscure. Not many people know this guy. He did a cover of An Everlasting Love that was done by, I forget his, Robert Wright, I forget his name. That was in 1967, and so this one I think went to number 6. But it's a cool soul album, kind of fun to listen to. So Animal on the Cover. So I have here PFM, which is, I have this written down so I can pronounce it, Premiata Forneria Marconi. It's an Italian prog band, and this is a live album from 74. It's got a bunch of snakes on the cover, and it's really good. A lot of people don't know about this, and I just basically got educated on these guys, but I think the Prog Corner, I forget his name. Is it Pete? I'm not sure, but he likes this band a lot, and they are great. They are great. But you can also choose this Camel Dragon that's on the front of Mirage for Camel. Now this is the American cover. The UK release had what looked like a Camel cigarette front on it. I think we all know what that looks like, but it was too controversial to release in the United States, so after a little bit they had him put this out, and this is absolutely fantastic album. But the one I would recommend is Buzzy Linhart, Pussycats Can Go Far. And I think a lot of people don't know who this guy was. He was a kind of a instrumental virtuoso when he was really young. He moved to New York in the 60s and became roommate with John Sebastian from the Loving Spoonful. And he did a lot of studio work with, I think, Bette Midler, Richie Havens, Carly Simon. I think he even played vibes with Jimi Hendrix on a few things. But he's an incredible songwriter. This album is so tight. The bass work is great, and I really love this. So it's not really it's kind of He's the Cat, but at any rate, this is a really cool album, and I would strongly recommend it. Great Story is the next one on the list, and this summer on July 4th, I live about an hour and a quarter from the Oregon coast, and I decided that I was going to get on my motorcycle and see if I could go camping out at the coast on July 4th. I didn't get any reservations at a campground, didn't do anything like that, but I just thought I'd head out. So I headed out to Coos Bay, which is south. It's about a 3.5-hour ride from here. and every campground I came to was full, and I just kept working my way north up the coast, and I couldn't find any place. Finally, I called a friend who has a place on the coast and asked if I could crash on their couch, and they of course said please do. So I was able and kept driving through up through Newport, Oregon, and in Newport is my favorite record store, Northwest Grooves. And I thought I'd stop there. It was July 4th. I didn't know whether it was going to be open or not, but they were. And when I went in, I discovered that had just been put out, and picked these two up. These are two promos from Alligator Records. These are the only two albums that were released by Alligator Records in 1974. Hound Dog Taylor and the House Rockers, Natural Boogie, and Fenton Robinson, Somebody Loan Me a Dime. And these are tremendous. They were traded in by a guy who worked at a record station, and he had these for many years, and they're in incredible shape. It says sample, do not sale, or not for sale here, and I brought them home instantly. So if I would have found a place to camp on the 4th of July, I wouldn't have run into these because they would have been gone right away. I picked them out of the new arrivals bin instantly as soon as I got there, and am very happy to have these in my batch of 74s. Surprised to see in my collection. Y'all don't know me, but I thought I'd pick something that most people might not have, most VCers might not have in their collection. This is from 74. This is Ray Conniff, The Happy Sound of Ray Conniff. This is a really good album. This is his wife Vera and his daughter Tamara, and it's the kind of album that would remind somebody my age or older of like strolling through a Sears or a Macy's or a Myron Frank or a Montgomery Ward, and that music that's playing as you walk across the tile floor through a big store like that as a kid. It's got, you know, it's got classics like In the Mood, The Entertainers on here, Don't Be That Way. But I really enjoyed this album. I think I got this at a Goodwill, probably, but it's in great shape and it plays out really good, and the sound is just absolutely fantastic. So, Cheap Heat. Dylan recommended a Billy Cobham album, and I instantly took hold of that. And I'm not sure which one he recommended, but Billy Cobham's album from 1974 is Total Eclipse. And you can get this for $10 or less, but it is absolutely fantastic. Billy's a drummer, and so when you listen to his albums, you pay special attention to the percussion, to what he's doing on the drums. And this starts off manic and just on fire. I mean, it truly is heat, and it is fantastic. I really like this album a lot. So I would recommend anything by Billy Cobham. 45 RPM. I don't have many 45s, but one that I do have is Ray Stevens. This is The Streak. So his album in 74 was Boogity Boogity. I have that. And this song, if you can believe it, spent several weeks at #1 and was the number 8 song of 1974. It's comedy, but everybody loved it. At the time, streaking was kind of a thing. A lot of people streaking out on baseball fields and in different places, political events and stuff like that. So he wrote a song called The Streak, and it's pretty funny. So anyway, Ray Stevens. The next one on the list is a music documentary or a biopic. I didn't really know what to pick, but I really enjoyed Squaring the Circle, which is a documentary about Hipgnosis. And Hipgnosis was a design company that formed in the late 60s, early 70s by two guys, friends, Poe Powell and Storm Thurgeson, and they were kind of hangout friends with the guys from Pink Floyd. I don't know if they lived in the same apartment complex or just knew them. And one of them was a photographer, and they both were creative. And of course, with the influence of lots of drugs at the time, they started getting involved in that. So they created this Hipgnosis. and they've went on to design many, many different album covers. And in '74, there are several. So there's Renaissance, Turn of the Cards. I really like this one. It's one of their designs. Probably #1 for prog records for a lot of people in the VC. The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway with Genesis, designed by them. Bad Company, pretty basic, but classic nonetheless. There's a million hits on this album. A lot of people know this album. Peter Frampton, who gets a lot of flack, but nonetheless is a great musician and produced some good albums. This is designed by them as well. Water splashing in the face. It's pretty cool. Another Hipgnosis. Nazareth from '74. Their big hit, Hair of the Dog. It's not on this album, but this is one that they designed. Humble Pie. Thunderbox. This is interesting. It's got this picture in the middle slides out, and it's a lady sitting on a toilet having a pee, I guess. But I'm not going to pull that out at any rate. It's a decent album. This is the most recent one I got. This is Silk Torpedo, Pretty Things. And it's pretty good. It's not bad. Basic rock and roll. My two favorite Hipgnosis albums from '74. First one being Wishbone Ash, There's the Rub. This is, I listen to this one all the time. It starts off with Silver Shoes. There's three songs to each side, and it's just, I can't say enough about how good this song is, and subsequently I became a big Wishbone Ash fan. And then probably my favorite Hipgnosis cover, and one that I could put in the strongly recommend category, is 10cc. This is sheet music. They were really popular in the UK, not so much in the United States. People know their hits, The Things We Do for Love and I'm Not in Love. Here, those were big hits. Those two came in a couple albums after this, but this album has Wall Street Boogie, and it starts off with that, and it's just absolutely fantastic. There was 4 guys in the band. They all wrote, they all sang lead, and they're all kind of like multi-instrumentalists, and they're absolutely fantastic. I really, really like 10cc. I think Mazzy did a little thing on 10cc too. My most trashed record, Minnie Riperton. I think the name is right for that. And this, you can see it has it's pretty beat up. The album's in pretty good shape. It's got a few skips on it, but it's a really great album. Her big hit was, what is it called? Lovin' You, that's right. And it was actually, it uses her falsetto. She has like a 5-octave range. And it was covered, if you all have seen Vegas Vacation, there's a part where Beverly D'Angelo has a duet with Wayne Newton, and they sing that song together. And she's also the mother of Saturday Night Live alumnus Maya Rudolph. It's her mother. At any rate, she's got kind of a tragic story, but I won't go into that. But this is a really good album, and I really like it. I got this at, I think, Too Many Records in Portland. Matt up there. Okay, local music. So back in the 70s and 80s, I live in what's called the Willamette Valley. It's basically from Portland down to Eugene. Salem's kind of in the middle. It's kind of a fertile area between the Coast Range and the Cascade Mountains. And in the Willamette Valley in the 70s and 80s, there were a couple Southern gospel bands. And I grew up in a family. My dad sang in a group called the Good Shepherds Quartet. And they released an album, or many albums, and this is from the 80s, but I'm right there, and my parents and my little sister, at any rate. So there was the Good Shepherds Quartet, and the other band that started before the Good Shepherds was the Knox Brothers. This was taken at the Oregon Coast at Hasita Head Lighthouse. But these are also friends of my family, and they were the original Southern gospel band in the Willamette Valley. And this is Marion and Wayne and Paul and Victor and Arnold and Ed. And I recently got this from Victor and had him write his name on it. And all the brothers are still alive, and I'm going to be riding my motorcycle over the next month or so to get them all to sign this for me. But this is very dear to my heart, and memories from when I was a kid growing up. So 1974. Album From a Faraway Land. So I had a couple to choose from. There's Locomotive GT from Hungary, of course the Italian guys, but I picked this up, and I actually picked this up on my 4th of July trip when I got those Alligator Record albums. This is Peter Maffay from Germany. Samstagabend und unsere Straße, which is Saturday Night on Our Street. And this is a really cool album. We don't know about Peter Maffay very much because he only sang in German, really. But if he's not the #1, he's one of the biggest German musical artists of all time. He had like 16 albums that sold over 1 million records, and is just an absolute legend in Germany. And this is a really good rock and roll album. You can see he's on a motorcycle gang there, kind of a thing, and rocking out. And it's fun to watch videos of his on YouTube because you can see how beloved he is in Germany. Soundtrack from 1974. I have Lenny, which stars Dustin Hoffman. It's a movie about Lenny Bruce, who was the controversial stand-up comedian, got the hype sticker on it. Includes monologues from the film performed by Dustin Hoffman. And it also has a song on here by Miles Davis, which is really, really good. It Never Entered My Mind, which I really love. But there's some jazz in between Dustin Hoffman's monologues, and it's a unique movie. It's Lenny Bruce probably wouldn't be considered very funny now, but at the time in the 60s he was quite controversial, was arrested quite a bit, and yeah, it's the album uses a few words that we don't really use now, but I found it kind of an interesting time capsule into what comedy was like back in the day. So my highest recommendation, some people might say this album, it's okay. But if you like that, you may absolutely love Bebop Deluxe. This is Bill Nelson's band. This is their first album from '74, Axe Victim. And a lot of people would compare them to David Bowie, which Bill Nelson didn't like very much, and subsequently tried to change and get away from those comparisons. But it's art rock, it's glam rock, it's progressive. It is fantastic. I got this at Pre-Atomic Records in Corvallis, just kind of found it in a bin for I think about $10 and didn't know anything about them, and then came home and studied up and was just blown away. They had, I believe, 4 albums after this. After this is Sunburst Finish, I think, is in there. And I forget the others, but they're absolutely fantastic. If you don't know about Bebop Deluxe, please check them out. They're sure to please. My want list for my 74s. I don't have John Cale Fear. He's from the Velvet Underground. Now, Rory Gallagher, Irish Tour of '74, and there's a lot actually. This is my master list that I cross off. If you can see that, there's a lot of albums that are crossed off, several hundred. I'm just under 500 albums from 1974, and it's been really fun to go through. A lot of times I come across albums that aren't on my list here, and I still have several hundred to go that I know of, maybe 200, and I'm sure there's a lot more. There's so many independent releases that aren't in the mainstream, known in the mainstream, that I come across. You know, local like gospel albums and stuff that were released, folk albums. So I'm having a great time with the 74s, and hopefully we'll continue to enjoy that. Shout out. I'd love to give a shout out to Brian at Tokyo Record Style. I recently got to know Brian, and I used to have a sushi restaurant, and he lives in Japan for the last 20 years, so he's really kind of opened me up, or given me a gateway into that VC community. And so I'm very thankful for him and look forward to growing that friendship quite a bit. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll go over there and we can hang out sometime. So thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. A silver lining. At this point, I'm new enough to the BC that the whole thing is silver to me. I see a little bit of drama, but that just seems kind of manufactured. It's been all gravy for me so far. Best deal. I came across Bob James's one. I got this at a Goodwill down the road for $3. It's not a super expensive album. I think in this condition, it's worth about $30. But Bob James is an instrumentalist, kind of a jazz fusion-y kind of guy. He's lots of album releases. This is from '74, of course. This has the track Nautilus on it, and it has the distinction of being the most sampled hip-hop R&B song of all time, probably over 250 to 300 times. And if you listen to it, you will recognize it on a lot of different hip-hop albums. But Bob is just kind of an average white guy that the hip-hop community has just kind of grabbed a hold of that song and really done something cool. He also wrote the theme to Taxi, the sitcom that had Danny DeVito in it and Andy Kaufman. I think it's called Angela. That's a really cool song too. So if you get your hands on any Bob James albums, they're really cool and fun. The last one is a promo. I've got lots of promos, as you can imagine, with about 500 74s. I have probably about 10 promos. But the one that I've probably like the most is this Return Engagement by Verve. This is the Oscar Peterson one. In '74, they released one with Stan Getz, maybe a Bill Evans, and there's some other ones in there. I think there's about 6 or 7 artists that they did this, and they all have this similar cover. These are white label promos in excellent shape, and I was able to get this for, I don't know, maybe $20. I was so excited. I'm a big Oscar Peterson fan, and it was really fun. So that is my summer vinyl tag. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully this is the start of maybe some more videos down the line. So thank you so much for getting through this with me, 20 minutes or so of it, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks.